So what is work-life balance? Why do we as technical professionals talk about it so much in our conversations? What are the things that prevent us from having work-life balance? And more importantly, I'm outside again. Welcome to another Walk and Talk. I'm Dr. PK. Today, we are talking about work-life balance. So let's take a walk and talk about what does that actually mean. So I'm outside today. It is 0 degrees. Yes. What are you doing, Paulin? What are you doing outside? 0 degrees. Now, work-life balance is such an interesting concept because on one hand, let me give you a bit of perspective. On one hand, this is Gilging, basically town, where you see on the horizon. You can classify it as work. This is where we stay. This is where we go 9 to 5. And on the other hand, is the amazing forest, the Gilging forest. On the one hand, it's such an interesting contrast between work and one would say life. But is it that really that simple? And I've got a couple of things I wanted to speak about when it comes to work-life balance. Because one of the things that I've realized as professionals, we do struggle with work-life balance. One of the things that this video essentially came out, the reason for this video really was that in my coaching program, I have a questionnaire that every possible candidate of the coaching program needs to fill out. And one of the questions is, do you struggle with balance when it comes to stress and just overall personal growth? And 90% of the people say, I do struggle with balance. I do struggle with just figuring out what to do. And more importantly, how to manage my time at work. So it really brought out this conversation today. And again, if you're interested in going through such a questionnaire, I'll have a link in the description below of this video. But more importantly, if you really want to have very good understanding of how you can manage this, I also suggest you join a coaching program. So why do people struggle with work-life balance, right? What is it that makes it such a difficult concept for a lot of people to really figure out, and to be honest, for me too. And one of the things that I realize is that there's some blurred boundaries, right? I mean, nowadays we work from home, 9 to 5, right? Sometimes 8 to 10, really. And some of the concepts that I've seen is that even me struggling is that you don't know when to switch off. Oftentimes your work computer is your personal computer, and it's not so easy to figure out when to switch off, right? It's not so obvious, but it's also quite interesting because it should make things easier. You are working from home, it should be more relaxed, but people are stressed. Now, it's such an important concept to understand that those are boundaries that have been blurred. And one needs to think about, how do I make it more clearer so that you're able to regain that work-life balance? But the other concept that I've seen and I've heard is people's core values are being neglected. What is your core value? Now, a core value is something that you deeply and intrinsically resonate with. Spending time with family, feeding the poor or helping the poor. What is your core value? For me, very specifically, is helping people. That is why MoloMolo exists today. I'm here to help you grow your potential in your career, in tech or business. And that's what I do. That's my core value. And of course, I love family and I believe in them. But those things get neglected, usually because of work and usually because we don't understand that it is something we should fight for. So that's another reason why people feel neglected. Let's keep walking. Now, the other thing is productivity. The productivity trap. What is that? Is we always get told, especially as technical guys, you gotta be productive, The last sprint should be better than the first one. The next sprint should be better than the last one. And you end up having this sense that it's never good enough. Even celebrating the successes is something you don't do very well. You just feel like you always need to give and give more and give more. And of course, it affects your core values and it affects the boundaries that you're supposed to set for yourself. Now, why is that? Who said we need to consistently be more and more productive? Who said that the graph cannot go down and go up again? I mean, life does. Why shouldn't productivity follow suit if you are indeed human? Of course, it's not so easy. Time is money, as they say. But it is an important question to ask. How do you see your productivity today? Do you have a sense that good enough is something you can move on with? Do you? I mean, I often don't, right? I mean, here I am, 0 degrees, trying to give all of you and myself a sense of what work-life balance is. And it is important to take a step back and figure out, why am I so stressed about trying to always be perfect at work? And the last thing I think people struggle with, that I think is quite important, is you have a bargaining dilemma, right? What I mean by bargaining, I mean, you think, or I think, or we think that it's always a lose-lose sum, right? You don't have a sense that relationships and work and health and all these things give a win-win situation, but more of a lose-lose. What do I mean by that? I mean that you always feel like there's not enough time. And that's true. I mean, I run MoloMolo, I run UAV for Africa, and of course, if you're interested in joining and subscribing to the channel, that would be amazing. Thank you so much for all those who have subscribed. But you do feel like it's a zero-sum or a lose-lose scenario. And because of that, you don't just do what you need to be doing. You end up just giving up. You end up just figuring out that, okay, since it's not enough, and since one needs to carry on feeling that, let me just focus on one and neglect the other, because you do feel like it's a lose-lose, it ends up being a lost sum for everybody, including you and the people who love you. And that's really tough, because that's really where loneliness creeps in, right? A lot of us are lonely, a lot of us are alone, and it doesn't help feeling that you can't win this game. You just need to, work and figure out whether this will eventually give to something. Now, that's not always the case, of course, but it is something that we should all think about, okay? I have to, and I plead for every one of you that thinks about work-life balance. Think about, what are you giving up? What are you bargaining? What are the things that you haven't done in such a long time that you should be doing, but you just haven't done it? Just think about that. So, let's keep walking. Yeah? So what do we do about it, right? I mean, it's not all doom and gloom, right? I mean, here I am, walking up and down. It's just amazing. It's 0 degrees, right, guys? 0. I mean, wow. Even me saying it, I'm like, okay. So what are some things that you can do? I think it's, of course, the obvious one is set boundaries, right? But I think boundaries is such a weird word. I think we are fluid humans. We should be fluid. Things should be, but boundaries meaning some things that you're not willing to compromise on. Things like your character. If work compromises your boundaries in terms of character and who you are, you gotta fight for it. Say no. No never killed anybody. You might get you fired, but at least you have your character intact. Now, it's not easier said than done, of course, and it's not something that one can easily, perceive as the way to go, or really something that you can even decide on doing it yourself. But it is something that one has to think about. And of course, when you do think about it, and you do realize that it is something that you can do, you should end up doing it. So, what does that even mean? Right? And setting boundaries is all about going on a self-discovery of what makes sense to you. My boundary and your boundary are not the same, and because of that, one needs to remember that it is important to do a self-introspection, really, on what are those boundaries. Now, the one thing that I remember very clearly is the core values that you and I need to fight for are the very same core values that your parents potentially fought for, right? It is not something that comes automatically. It's not something that, just comes, manna from the sky. But it is something that is brought about from your culture and what you've been talking about and the things that you've learned. So I do believe that just go back to your roots, man. How did you grow up? What is your experience? What is your life experience? And with that, you'll be able to figure out very clearly, what should I be thinking about and fighting for? And the number one thing is family and friends. Of course, for me as a Christian and for those who are religious, it is God, and really fighting for your faith, essentially. The grace and the blessings that allows you to be grateful every single day and really try to be your best as opposed to yesterday. For me, that's core. That is important. That is something to fight for. And now, if you were to think about something like that, you realize that it's not so difficult to do, right? It's not so difficult to do. It's just going back to what you believe is core. You believe that is worth fighting for. You believe that it's worth being me and authentic. But I think more importantly, it's just realize that it's daily, right? Getting work-life balance is about purpose. I honestly believe the work-life, this is how I break it down. Work is the things you have to do. Life is the things you get blessed to do. It's when you think about the have and the blessings, it doesn't have to be opposing things. It can be one fueling the other. One would say that, work is just the thing that you do in order to enjoy the things that you are blessed to enjoy. Like a holiday, because you have money. And that's a blessing. It's not a right, it's a blessing. And because of that, you just enjoy as it comes. You just enjoy as it comes, literally. And with that brings a lot of gratitude and a lot of just peace. But more importantly, life is also about purpose. Work is what you have to do to appease or to leverage. Life is all about blessings and purpose. To give back, to figure out what to do. And there's a dog, and he's coming towards me. Let's have a look. No, he's not. But I do think it's such an important thing. So, just finally, I would like to just remember to make everybody aware that it is a journey. Okay, it is a journey to figure out what to do. It is a journey to figure out balance. You've got to figure these things out on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. You got to recalibrate. You got to figure out what to do. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. But start running. Start running, start walking, start crawling, and really get back to the core values that makes you authentic, that makes you interesting, but also that makes you balanced. I'm Dr. PK. Thank you again for watching another video. If this resonates with you and you would like to know more, first of all, please subscribe and see the links in the description that comes with this video. And hopefully you join the MoloMolo community that is all over, specifically WhatsApp, but also on LinkedIn. Thanks again for all those who have given me comments on how well the show is impacting them and what they've been learning. It really fuels my spirit to keep on going. I'm Dr. PK. Until next time. Ciao.